long story long, KitKat, for a very long time in Japan just had not been successful. You go back to the 90s and they're doing like, really, really low numbers, not very well known, low brand awareness. And they've really sort of struggled to gain adoption. But their market research team didn't give up on the product. They examined, so, all right, is there any sort of source of life in Japan, like any sort of niche consumers that are using it, any sort of, interesting scenarios? And they found that on this one specific island of Japan, during a specific time of the year, they just saw this huge spike in KitKat sales. And so they said, okay, interesting. What's going on here? It happens every year around December. And what's happening? So they investigated further, and it turns out that the word KitKat in that specific dialect of Japanese means something like "I wish you all the best." I won't give the Japanese because I'll totally butcher it. But if you translate it to Japanese, it means like, "These are my good intentions for you. I wish you all the best." And why it spiked in December is because that's when it was this huge exam period for college students. And so college students were giving each other KitKat bars as sort of signs of a testament to my sort of good wishes for you on the exam. And so they're like, okay, that's interesting. Can we do something with this? And so at the time, as most listeners will know, KitKat's whole sort of brand motto is take a break with KitKat. But the way they saw the product being used, it was the opposite. It wasn't take a break. It was like, here, you're going to do really well in this exam. Now go study for 12 hours and make us proud. And so they showed a bit of flexibility there. They said, okay, that's interesting. We're going to sort of lean into this. And we're not going to change our global brand motto, but in this, country, in this specific region, we're going to show some flexibility. And so what they did is they changed the sort of packaging away from the sort of standard red and brown to having pink, and to having rose petals and cherry blossoms, which in Japan is sort of a sign of good luck. And then ended up changing the motto and sort of take a break out of the ad copy and out of the product copy. And they just sort of let the product go. And it turned out that all over Japan, the sort of sales of TikTok experienced this sort of hockey stick growth. And over the next 10 years, they did campaigns which sort of deeper sort of instantiated KitKat as like the gift to give as people are going into exams. They experimented with different flavors and cultivated different tastes. And now to this day in 2022, 2023, still something like 80% of Japanese college students have a KitKat bar that they received as a gift every single year. And so it was Nestle being sort of the good market research team that they are, listening to the consumers, understanding how the product was being used, which again was wildly different from how they wanted the product to be used, against sort of the brand positioning that they had envisioned in a back room of executives. They leaned into it, and to this day, KitKat is very, very successful in Japan. So I think going back to your original question, it's really about sort of finding a balance. So KitKat didn't sort of change their global brand and say, they didn't scrap, take a break. But for this specific region and this specific instances, they were flexible, listened to consumers, they co-created, and were very successful as a result.